Hi there and happy holidays. My name is Laurel Greer and I write for Harlequin Special Edition, and today I'm here to welcome you to Harlequin's Soothing Sunday feature and to read to you from my new release, Lights, Camera, Wedding, which is a best friends to lovers wedding of convenience story that takes place at Christmas time and on the set of a reality TV wedding series. It is one of my Sutter Creek, Montana releases, and it's the third in what I like to think of as the Wedding Lodge trilogy, which started with 12 Dates of Christmas last winter, continued over the summer with What to Expect When She's Expecting, and then now finishing off with Lights, Camera, Wedding, where three of the Halloran siblings, who are part of the community in Sutter Creek, Montana, work together to create a five-star wedding venue in the wilderness, all very romantic. And Lights, Camera, Wedding is the one where they are supposed to be getting a lot of publicity by being on this reality TV series. But the problem is that Beatrix Halloran, who is the heroine, she is engaged through the first two books of the series and thinks she's marrying a man named Jason, and that their wedding is going to be the absolute cornerstone of her family's Wedding Lodge's publicity, and that it's going to just absolutely put their Wedding Lodge on the map. But the problem being, the night before Bea leaves to start shooting the wedding series, Jason dumps her. And Bea's best friend, Brody Emerson, he comes to her rescue and agrees to be her pretend groom, and that they'll have a wedding of convenience and a marriage of convenience for a short period of time to be able to salvage her reputation and her florist business and her family's Wedding Lodge business. So I'm going to read to you today from the scene where they are flying to Montana and are absolutely convinced that they're going to be able to fool everybody, that it's actually them that they are head over heels in love with each other and completely intent on getting married. And it starts at the airplane. Bea, we're at the gate. Brody was a prime candidate for voicing a GPS app. Low and soothing, but leaving no question, he was in control of the situation. Even so, Bea wanted silence right now, not a location report. I know, she complained. Taking off soon. I won't sleep long. Promise. Just need a little nap. She tried to slide back into the darkness. Every hour of sleep she'd missed the night before was a brick weighing down her eyelids. Damn it, not time to wake up. Wrong gate, he chuckled. We took off, flew, and landed. It's showtime. No, it's nap time. The plane's mechanical hum filled her ears, an oral hug. She tightened her two-handed grip around the biceps she was using as a comfort item. Sweet, sweet sleep, finally escaping the whirl of the last 18 hours. Her pillow was too hard, but it was warm and covered in soft wool. Brody didn't skip when it came to his sweater yarn. Gentle fingers teased her cheek. We're in Montana. She jolted upright, opening her eyes. What? You let me sleep the whole flight? He winced and peeled her clenched hands from around his upper arm. Didn't exactly have a choice. You were out so hard you didn't even revive when the flight attendant offered the classy snacks. She groaned. My inaugural first-class flight, and I didn't even get a glass of champagne? Can I even say I flew it? I'm essentially still a first-class virgin. Someone snickered in the row behind them. Her cheeks heated like an electrical outlet on the verge of shorting. First-class virgin is something else entirely, Brody said, cracking up. A stern-faced flight attendant materialized in the aisle. Her name tag read Hillary. White with tan skin that hinted at years of layovers in tropical places, she was a good 6 feet tall and polished to a marble shine. God, so put together. Hillary would never get dumped by her partner and need her best friend to step in and save her ass. I am afraid that is against airplane regulations, even for the newly engaged, Hillary informed them. Bea couldn't tell if the woman was serious or had a remarkable deadpan. Also, how did she know about the engagement? Bea shot Brody a questioning look. He cocked an eyebrow as he packed away his ever-present knitting, his go-to for whenever he had time to kill. What? You thought I was going to keep it a secret that you finally said yes? I wanted the champagne. She harumphed and then smiled an apology at the flight attendant. Sorry if I disturbed anyone just now. I'm just sad. I missed the refreshments. Not the Mile High Club, and especially not with Brody. Refreshment is just a fancy word for snack, after all. After giving Brody an obvious once-over with smoky-lidded eyes, Hillary sauntered back up the aisle. He jammed his e-reader in the messenger bag he brought on board, not seeming to notice Hillary had just checked him out like an express status library book. He rarely did. Handy for those rare moments when attraction sneaked past Bee's willpower, warming her straight through. He always seemed to miss the brief moments of weakness, and she never regretted putting up a shield to block out those feelings. He wouldn't be anyone's romantic dream, especially not hers. Keeping him as a friend was worth ignoring every cut muscle, every instance her heart wanted to melt at his smile, every suspicion she'd never fall in love with someone who understood her the way he did. Not that she'd be falling in love with anyone while she was temporarily married to Brody. God, how are they going to explain this? She poked his side. Brody, we were supposed to use the flight to make up the rest of our story. And we'll use the car ride to figure it out. He straightened, adjusted his seatbelt, and then leaned over to kiss her forehead. Geez, did he invest in chapstick or something? His lips were the softest. Which is not the point. What was that for? She said, unable to stop her fingers from drifting to the place his mouth had been. We have 40 minutes to get used to the kind of affection people expect out of an engaged couple. I figure we should start now. Well, warn a girl. The imprint of his lips tingled on her forehead the entire walk to baggage claim, and while they waited for her mountain of suitcases and boxes in the bright wood raftered space. Christmas elves had already visited to decorate, despite it not yet being Thanksgiving. Evergreen swags and bright red bows swathed the stone facades of the pillars. Bee's stack of boxes and suitcases was 1,000 times less festive, full of wasted dreams and unusable wedding paraphernalia. Frustration rising, she waved a hand at it. Half of that stuff isn't going to work for you and me. It was to appease Jason's mom, and no one's going to believe that it's what you and I want. Brody rubbed her shoulder, his brown eyes confident. We'll figure that out. I'll make a list in the car. I wish lists were halfway as comforting for me as they are for you, she said. Though necessary, all lists brought was the anxiety that she'd inevitably forget something, no matter how diligently she tried to check things off. Are our families really going to believe that Jason and I have been broken up for more than a day? I mean, I've been talking to Emma about the wedding plans all week. So we tell them we were covering it up because we wanted to talk to them in person, he said. Sounded weak to her ears, but maybe that, combined with Brody's promised story that her breakup with Jason was finally what made him realize he loved her, would convince someone who didn't know the truth. It was worth trying. She didn't want to loop her family into her mess any more than she had to. We'd better be convincing. She stared at the clattering conveyor belt, willing her last suitcase to appear so they could get this over with. I don't want to tell them and force them into lying to the production team on our behalf. The fewer people aware of the sham, the better. He lifted her hand to his lips. Yep, just as soft there as on her forehead. We're comfortable being affectionate, he said. Ramp that up a bit and we'll be fine. What about an engagement story and a ring? We don't have a ring. We can rip into a store before we leave Bozeman. The corner of his mouth tilted. I'll buy you something better than that skating rink Jason picked out. Something that doesn't scrape your flower petals. Ugh, her old engagement ring had been a hazard while she'd worked with arrangements. She'd happily left it behind. She rubbed her eyes, still foggy after her nap. She needed to pass out for a full day to make up for her packing all-nighter. Okay, we'll pick up the bags, get our rental car, and then have 40 minutes to get our story straight. You bet, sleepyhead. If we plan fast, you might even catch another short nap. Knowing the emails the show's PA sent me, we'll barely be able to get time to breathe this week, let alone sleep. Makes for quite the wedding. Yeah. And this man, he was doing so much to salvage her pride, to facilitate her dreams. She took him in, casually slinging boxes onto 2 carts, like their lives weren't about to undergo a massive change, even if temporarily. She laid a hand on his, forcing him to pause in his task. Thank you, Brody. Of course. His tone was casual, his smile, too, flickering with humor at the corners. That serious gaze, though, not so much. He knew this wasn't a small thing. Not the act of marriage, not the fact he was willing to undertake it with her for some rather unconventional reasons. His silent acknowledgement that their plan was nowhere near small potatoes eased the guilt of pulling him into her chaos. He brushed a runaway curl off her forehead. "You look like $1,000,000, Beatrix Halloran." She wasn't sure how accurate he was with his $1,000,000 compliment, but he'd certainly added an extra layer of shine when he'd gotten ready this morning. Instead of his usual athletic wear, he had on a crisp button-up shirt. Jeans hugged the ass and thighs that proved he did just as many squats as the rowers he coached. The guy had more than his fair share of genetic gifts, and the work ethic to ensure he was still in elite shape. He was obviously practicing the engaged couple affection he talked about. There was actual heat in his eyes, and wow, her bestie could be a smoke show when he put his mind to it. Her cheeks warmed with embarrassment over drifting to a place she'd never let herself travel. "How about you put your mind to not looking at things you can't touch?" They continued loading up the 2 carts. When finished, Brody's was stacked high enough to hide behind. If only she could, instead of going out into the world. "Here we go," she said under her breath, leading the way through the terminal toward the rental car counter. "Hey, B," he said, voice not betraying an ounce of the effort it had to be taken to push that cart. "Yeah? We got this. Hell, we might even enjoy ourselves." The reminder settled into her soul, soothing her rattled nerves. They did usually manage to have fun no matter what. It was one of the reasons she looked forward to seeing his face as much as possible. "Let's promise each other that," she said. "Priority number 1, make this a fun time." "You got it." A streak of pink and denim exploded through a nearby door. "Surprise!" B halted, just in time for a flurry of Emma, complete with a soundtrack of sisterly squeals, to bowl her over. Stopping short behind them, Brody muttered a curse. "B!" Emma bounced on the toes of her pristine ankle boots and pushed up her purple-framed glasses. "I can't believe this is finally happening. Oh my god, look at all the luggage! You're getting an arm workout, Brody?" She scanned around them, confusion widening her eyes. "Where's Jason?" Brody rounded the side of the cart to stand with B. He nodded at her as if to say, "Take it away, boss." She glared back at him, trying to get across something like, "Are you kidding me? I can't explain this to my sister because we don't have our story straight, and she can read me like a nursery rhyme," in the matter of a second. Preventing said sister, of course, from reading any of the silent message. "It's okay, sweetheart. We're here now," he said, and wow, he was impressive. Using endearment he never used for her, making it sound like it was a private comment, but keeping his voice just loud enough for Emma to catch every syllable. "We can finally tell the truth," he finished. "The truth?" She barely held in a laugh. "B, where's Jason?" Emma repeated, peering down the hall to the baggage carousels. Time to rip off the proverbial bandage. B shuffled next to Brody and laced her fingers in his. "He's not coming." Emma froze, except for her gaze bouncing between them faster than a ball at a Grand Slam tennis match. "I don't understand." B held their joined hands up like they were standing on a podium and repeated her sister's "Surprise!" just in time to see the outside door slide open and the camera crew standing on the sidewalk. Her heart spun up into her throat. "Wait, you brought an entourage?" "Didn't you want me to? What better scene is there than an airport greeting?" Blinking, Emma turned so that she was facing away from the door. "Except, when my sister doesn't bring her fiancé." "I did. Two of the show people broke off from the group and started walking toward them. "Damn it, Emma, lend me your engagement ring." "What?" "Your ring. I need to borrow it," B said, trying not to move her lips. "Where's yours?" "In Seattle." In Jason's splendor, waiting for the next time he makes the smoothie. "Your ring, please. I'll get it back to you later tonight." "No. My engagement ring is an emerald, remember? It's too distinctive." Yanking a yellow gold band crowned with 5 small diamonds off her right hand, Emma thrusted at B. "This is Luke and Brody's grandma's anniversary band. If you need a ring, wear this." B took the pretty piece of Emerson family history. Being an heirloom, it made more sense for her to wear it than to borrow Emma's. Or you're completely dishonoring the love between Brody's grandparents. Ugh, that's so wrong, but she didn't know what else to do. She had just enough time to slide it on her left hand and greet the approaching duo with her best attempt at gracious excitement. And here's the happy couple. The voice was Christmas bells a-ringing, wrapped up in hot chocolate warmth. Rashida Martinez, host extraordinaire and one of the show's producers, sidled up to them, medium brown cheeks tinged with rose. She wore black jeans, lace-up ankle boots, and a cashmere sweater that looked soft enough to line a baby's bassinet. A sound tech trailed behind her, carrying 3 clip-on microphones. Right, they'd be wearing those for the next week. No more thinking out loud for me. Rashida stuck out her hand. "Bea, so good to see you." Her southern roots drew out her words. "We couldn't secure permits for filming in the airport today, so we'll need to set up a greeting shot on the sidewalk. Make it look spontaneous." "But Bea looked down at her leggings and sneakers. "I was planning to wear something nicer for my first appearance." And who knew if there would even be an appearance if the production team didn't agree to the fiancé switch. "Don't you worry about that. You look approachable. And heaven knows Jason will look like he stepped off a J. Crew billboard. Is he still at baggage claim or in the washroom? We'll get the 3 of you mic'd up and..." She squinted at Brody and then down at his fingers laced through Bea's. "Wait, you must be Brody, the best man. Bridesman, that is, or man of honor, whatever term you settled on. But holding hands isn't going to fly. I'm not here to judge whatever works for you, but my viewership isn't going to like even a hint of a love triangle to complicate your big romance, Bea." Rashida had met Jason not only in the audition and background check process, but during a day of filming they'd done in Seattle to establish their engagement story. Rashida's reputation for being a delight was one of the reasons Bea had been excited to sign up for DIY I Do. Her co-worker from her theme park days had gone on to do things with Streamflix and swore up and down that Rashida was dedicated to her project and wanted to put out a quality product. She wouldn't screw Bea over with misrepresentation or false drama. Instead, Bea thought, I'm the one screwing her over with real drama. Bea forced a smile, but no way would Rashida be fooled. No person trained to deal with people in Hollywood would miss the stiffness in Bea's lips. "Good to see you too, Rashida. It's not a love triangle. We need to run something by you before we get those microphones on." She glanced around the busy airport. "Somewhere private, though?" "Where is your groom, Bea?" Rashida said. "You're looking at him," Brody cut in. One of his wide palms slid along Bea's back. The other reached out to shake Rashida's. "Also at the luckiest man in Montana." The host looked puzzled as anything. "I'm sorry, what?" Brody slid a palm along Bea's cheek. He looked a mix of recalcitrant and eager and infatuated? His mouth lowered. Was he going to kiss her? Once or twice it had crossed her mind that he'd be worth kissing. Usually after a few drinks lowered her good sense and inhibitions. Brody. She wants big romance, Sparks. The bossy whisper tickled her ear. His lips landed on her cheek. She shivered. He'd kissed her cheek 100 times before. Tiny pecks of hello, or goodbye, or thank you for coming to Brazil to watch me win Olympic gold. This one had more meaning behind it. Came with the spirit of, I'm trying to appease my fiancé. Rashida held up a hand. I do not understand. Jason is the groom, and I have 6 hours of footage to prove it. Between Rashida's sharp gaze and the horror dawning in Emma's expression, Bea could swear that the stone posts and wooden beams were angling toward her, ready to collapse on her at any minute, much like her poorly constructed story. The footage. Can we reshoot it? She asked. Reshoot it? The host said it like Bea was asking to move the wedding to the surface of the moon. Squaring her shoulders, she nodded. We'll need to do something. The footage you have won't work. Jason and I broke up a couple of weeks ago, which was exactly what I needed to realize I was in love with Brody. So that's Lights, Camera, Wedding, and it comes out November 29th from Harlequin Special Edition, and from outside of Vancouver in Canada where I live, I'd like to welcome you to Sutter Creek, Montana for the holidays and wish you a very happy December and a very happy winter season, and thank you so much for reading Harlequin, and hopefully for also reading in my Sutter Creek, Montana series. I hope you like and love the I hope you love the small town romance and real people finding love with each other through interesting circumstances. and that you like the Wedding Launch trilogy, and that you have a lovely holiday season. Take care.